Welcome back to another MovieBeings episode, the director series on Wes Anderson. The day has finally arrived. We get to discuss Wes Anderson's arguably most popular and most successful movie to date, the 2014 adventure comedy The Grand Budapest Hotel, which tells an incredible story about friendship, loyalty, and a touch of fascism. And it would not be a Wes Anderson episode if we don't include his critically acclaimed 2018 stop-motion animation Isle of Dogs, a cultural and artistic production that earned him another 2 Academy nominations. So strapped in, get your tickets ready. This is going to be the biggest Wes Anderson episode yet.
Beings?
So much to talk about this movie, released in 2014, led by a star-studded cast with Ralph Fiennes' first collaboration with Wes Anderson.
I believe so.
So it's not too crazy to believe that this movie would do well at the box office. On a budget of $25 million, racked up $174.6 million at the box office. Not only that, it was nominated for 9 Academy Awards, won 4 out of 9. But it didn't win Best Pictures or Best Director, which I think is a crime.
I know it was a tough year that year, though.
Yeah, a lot of good movies that year.
A lot of good movies come out, so it was a rough year. It is great. Like, I won't deny that it doesn't deserve, but a lot of good movies that year.
So let's jump into it. What is your opinion on first impression on this movie?
I feel like it, like you said, it's like the opus magnum or the pinnacle of kind of like everything he's done to this point, because it just really shows through this film. Like all the people that we know are back. All the actors he loves are back in it. Just like, still got his weird quirkiness, some like the introduction, some weird place in East Europe. It's like I don't even know. It's just like an amazing movie, because it's just like having Ralph Fiennes as like the main actor as well, someone that he hasn't used before as well as like a main role, not Bill Murray, not like Will. Any of the or Will the bloody Owen Wilsons or any of them. So it was like, even though they're all in it again, but I just think it's amazing all around. Like film directing, the story I thought was well done. It's just great. Like a lot of the shots are amazing as always. I feel like his cinematography and stuff in these, they're always great. Yeah. But I just think it's an amazing movie.
Yeah. And I'm sure that you have seen one of his interviews where he discussed how he created the sets for the movie. I think this is one of the reasons why they won the Academy Award for production design. So they found an old building, which was a department store at the time, and they renovated it to turn it into a film set where they can strap cameras in weird places, get wide angles, etc. And they technically created this hotel out of their own imagination, which I think is amazing. This movie happened in a fictional country, Zubrauka. Zubrauka.
Sounds right.
In Eastern Europe. Do you want to quickly go through the synopsis, like the quick recap of the movie? Like, what is this movie about?
What is this movie about?
What is all his movies about?
Well, because it's strange. He always has like a weird perspective, because we started Jude Law. He asked the story to the owner of a hotel, the Grand Budapest, and asks him a simple question: how did you acquire the hotel? And so this is because you forget watching the film what's actually happening. So it is literally about how this boy acquired a hotel, and it's this story about this maitre d' and his kind of weird escapades, or even how he runs things and how he becomes how he somehow acquires the hotel and then passes it on to
Zero.
Zero. Yeah, Zero. That's not his real name, but I'm like but yeah, that's pretty much it. Like he could go deeper, but it's literally a guy asking a question. Yeah. And that's the story.
Yeah. And
it's very, very much Wes Anderson.
100%. And we discussed this before. So this was Ralph Fiennes' first collaboration with Wes Anderson. So he said in his interviews about the characters, when they came up with the idea for the movie, he actually wrote this role with Ralph Fiennes in mind, and was hoping that Ralph Fiennes was accepted.
Agree it, yeah.
Well, this is after all the Harry Potter movies. So Ralph Fiennes, he was like, I don't want to play a villain anymore.
He wanted a break. Oh yeah, just a villain in general, getting a break.
Yeah.
Because I think he does a good job of that. Because even if we go like even further back in Wes Anderson's films, getting why have I forgotten his name? The actor, he's in this as well. I've forgotten written it down. But the guy from Rushmore, the guy that plays the main character in that.
Schwartzman.
Schwartzman.
Yeah, Jason Schwartzman. Yeah,
kind of like picking the right guy for the role, even though he had Ralph Fiennes already in mind. But I mean, like similar idea where this young boy at the time, Schwartzman was like perfect for the role, right? I think he's very good at picking out his either characters that will play well with the actors, or even an actor that would play well for the character, either way. And I think he does a great job in his films.
And not just Ralph Fiennes, but Murray Abraham, the guy who played Mr. Mustafa in the beginning.
He's great as well.
This is his first collaboration with Wes Anderson as well, even though he only plays like a minor role in this movie.
Kind of like he's like it's weird, but he's great in it as well.
Yeah, great voice, great presence, but I think the biggest cast or the most interesting cast that we should talk about is the actor that plays Zero, Tony Revolori. Yeah,
better than what I could. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
from Spider-Man fame, probably.
Yeah, from Flash.
The Flash,
yes. So Wes Anderson was talking about the casting process. So they were trying to find an actor with an Arabic descent that has this kind of look to him. So the casting process went on for a couple of months until they came across Tony's older brother, and then they found Tony, and then they cast him to play Zero. What do you think about this character? What do you think about this actor as his debut?
Yeah, movie? I know. He was great. I thought like I said, Wes Anderson has this kind of canny ability to pick great people for these roles, especially in the live action stuff. Obviously, it's harder when it's like voice acting, but I think he does a great job of being kind of like a young, naive survivor, essentially. And the way like Ralph Fiennes' character, Gustav, like takes him under his wing and stuff. I think it's very well done because you pretty much, he's explaining it's funny that this one question, he's explaining like his whole life story, kind of like him falling in love, him learning to work, learning these lessons with Mr. Gustav, and I think it's great. It's a wonderful story because that's what you always forget. I forgot every time I was watching, I'm like, this is just like a question, right? It isn't, it's like a weird way to tell this story, but I reckon he does a great job.
And if we want to talk about like the cast, this is like a convention of Wes Anderson's most popular.
That's what I was going to say. How many have been in other Wes Anderson films?
Yeah, this is like the convention. This is like okay, or you will be in my movie. So
are we going to go through who came back?
Yeah.
Schwartzman's back.
Schwartzman's back. Yep. You got Bill Murray's back.
Bill Murray's back. You can't miss him.
Owen Wilson.
Owen Wilson has a little cameo in this.
Willem Dafoe. He's a great villain. Jeff Goldblum
comes back. I was like, he's back.
Yeah.
It's been a little while.
And you have Ed Norton.
Edward Norton's back.
Yep. What else? Who else?
Tilda
Swinton.
She's back.
Yep. And
another villain.
Adrian Brody
is back as well.
Yeah.
Was there anyone else? I feel like I'm sure there was. Yeah, I'm sure but I just love that there's like I feel like if you've been in one of his movies, you're gonna get another role in one of his other ones.
Yes. And Saoirse Ronan was one of the actresses that worked with Wes Anderson for the first time in this movie as well. She plays a very important role in the movie, and arguably her role might be one of the reasons why this movie was so successful. Not just because of her acting skill, but also the image that she was part of, Mando Bakery. Yeah, it became quite popular. So you touch on the relationship between Monsieur Gustav and Zero. It was one of the themes of this movie, friendship and loyalty. And arguably the bond between Gustav and Zero is like the only bond in the movie, really.
Zero has his wife.
Yeah,
they get married.
But it's not the main focus point,
and
right?
Gustav has all these women.
Yeah. But I want to discuss the relationship between the two of them from the beginning of the movie. So it started out as a mentor-mentee relationship. But obviously they went through a bunch of trials. So yeah, let me know what you think about this bond and relationship.
Well, you're right. It is kind of like the main point of like going through the story is their like connection, because it literally just like they start out, he's like there on his first day and he's being what is it, what was the job, lobby boy.
Lobby boy, yeah.
And he's like, you're the lobby boy, and he's like, have you done your interview, or have you? And he's like, I love that he goes like, hey, he's like comes out, he's like, he's on trial period, and he's like, only when you like agree with him, of course. He's like, and he like just pops back inside, and like, just in the middle of a hotel, he pops his head out the window. And he like does this little run through with him, and he's like, have you got much experience? What have you done? And then what did he say? He's asked him, he's like, oh, why do you want to work here? And he's like, oh, who wouldn't want to work in this lovely, like, wonderful establishment? He's like, all right, you're in.
And this is what one of the things that they established early in the movie, that they share this kind of, well, probably not for Zero in the beginning, but both eventually they both share this kind of passion towards the hotel itself. And because of this, they got a common ground, and they always try to achieve the best things for the hotel. And over time, they got more and more invested into the hotel for different reasons. What do you think about Gustav's attitude towards Zero from the beginning and then until the end of the movie?
I think he's very like honest, and like he's like, you've always got to like tell me the truth, and you got to work with me with stuff. And he's very like, he's very honest about what he expects from him and what to do. But I think as soon as he's like able to do what he wants him to do, he's pretty much happy with him. Because later on in the film, like when he gets not kidnapped, he gets arrested and stuff, and he still helps him when he's in prison and stuff, trying to help him get out and stuff. But because even when he gets angry at him, it usually never lasts that long. Because it shows they have a bit more than just like, it's his employee or whatever. Like he gets angry at him and gets upset and he's like, oh, no, like I didn't mean that, I'm sorry. I was kind of like a bit hot-headed and like apologize straight away. He's not like that much of a hothead. But I think it's like an interesting way it develops, because they pretty much come inseparable through the film.
Yeah.
Like they can't be there without the other, which is great because it just shows you how much respect they have for each other throughout the film. Yeah. Obviously, Zero has a lot for him to begin with, but then earns his trust fairly quickly. Yeah, and over the challenges, their loyalty kind of were put to the test, right? Because there were a lot of incidences. I think one of them was when they were on the train for the first time, and all the police people came in and they checked on Zero's papers. I was like, oh, you don't have all the papers in there. So this is at this point, it's a stand-in for like the Nazis. Yeah. So they're just like they're like checking people. And then he knew straight away that they're going to get Zero because he's an immigrant. Yeah. And that he isn't, a part of them. So he knew he was going to get thrown out. Yeah. And so they like berate him. But Gustav is like, no. He has his papers. This is like what he needs. You can't just arrest him. Yeah. And they go to arrest him. But the only reason it stops is because one of the like higher ups is gone to the hotel and knows Gustav and tells him, no, you can't do this to him. Here's like a little note. Show this to anyone else that gives you trouble. So it's not even a point of contention, but just kind of shows what he believes in and stuff. Yeah. Like he believes that everyone should have like a fair go, and he isn't like, he isn't judgmental. Yeah. Like, the Nazis are, which, it isn't a hard bar, but it's kind of just like the standpoint of that, of him standing up for him and stuff, like, correct, and making sure he doesn't get taken away. 100%. And during that point, like, he could easily just hand him over to the police because he has the power, and Zero really at his mercy. And this is where I wanted to highlight that the loyalty is already there. And I think he wouldn't get loyalty back from Zero if he didn't offer it first. And I think from that point on, Zero was like, well, this person helped me when I have nothing. Like, I am going to repay this debt, and this is a good deed. Because it's even early on in the film. Like, this is like what, a couple of months in, or even a month in, because they're going to the funeral of one of his lovers. Yeah. So it's still pretty early, but he's earned his trust that quickly, essentially. And it's kind of good. It's kind of interesting seeing that, because he does, like you said, he could have easily given him up. Like, there's nothing, like, he didn't need to do any of this, right? True. So it is a very poignant point. It's like, okay, he's willing to like stick with him. So I think, like you said, he earns his trust of Zero. So later in the film, when he does get arrested, he's willing to go through so much Zero to help him. Yeah. If we go to the funeral segment, we get to, just a little bit before that, the relationship between Gustav and Madame D was one of the weird ones. I love that. I love that part of the early part of the film when they're like, oh, what's it? Zero explains it. He explains what the women he likes. Yes. Like, what is it? Like eccentric, rich, blonde, old or something. I'm pretty sure I wrote it down. I'm like, this is great. I love it. And is this just me, or was M. Gustav established as a member of the LGBTIQ member? In what way? Well, it says that he kind of swings both ways. Like, he likes the older women, but he doesn't mind sharing bed with men as well. Was that not? When did that happen? I can't remember. Well, probably not. But this says somewhere that I read, like, the M. Gustav character was an openly bisexual. Was he? I'm trying to remember a moment he like even kissed a man, or even I can't even remember, to be honest.
I'm pretty sure
I'm not looking for it, to be honest. But I mean,
but I'm pretty sure if we look back, then maybe there were some moments that highlighted that. But getting back to the relationship between Gustav and Madame D, how long have they been having an affair?
Well, I don't know if it's an affair, but it must have been a while, because he did. Like, it seems like they've been going on a while, because it's nearly like the opening scene for this story where she's like very worried. She doesn't want to go. Like, she feels like something's wrong in it. She doesn't want to leave and stuff like that. And he's just like, no, it's going to be fine. You know, it's going to be all right. And then obviously it doesn't go well. So it is just kind of like, it's the establishment for kind of like the conflict in the film, because she has this painting, the boy with the apple, and when you meet her family, you instantly know, okay.
Yeah,
they're in it for the money, because they're all there for the will. And I love that scene when Jeff Goldblum comes in. He like slaps all the papers, and he's like, "Oh, I've got to get through all this." But he's like, "Oh, what was it like the day before she like died? She like wrote one more letter for the will, and she's like, oh, it counts." And it was like about the boy with the apple that it goes to Mr. Gustav, and they're like, "Who's he?" And he's like, "Oh, that's me." And he's out the back, and he's like, oh.
That is a good introduction to the main villain of the movie as well, Dimitri, played by Adrian Brody. This is a very good change for Adrian Brody, I feel. Like, he's been playing like the hero, the main actor of the movie, but I think it seems like he had a lot of fun with this character.
He made a great like bad guy.
Yeah,
him and Willem Dafoe were great.
I mean, Willem Dafoe has always been playing most of the time the bad guys, but I really like the sequence where they had to navigate through the inheritance of the painting, dealing with this crazy family and trying to steal the picture at the same time.
Yeah, because they're just thinking like, I think they're about to leave, and they're just like, let's just go get the painting, and they go there. I love that when they take it off, they just replace it with a random one.
Yeah.
And no one cares for like the longest time. And I love that scene when Adrian Brody walks into the room and he's like, "What the hell is that?"
It is a very very graphic painting as well.
Yeah. And then he's like, "Where is it?" And then the sisters are like, "We thought you moved it." And he's like, And then they're like, okay. They know what happened then.
And Adrian Brody is supposed to be the representation of the touch of fascism that I mentioned.
Yeah, in the sense, like not to the degree, but it's just like the bad guy being on the bad side. Like he's I think he's either working for them or a part of their system, because essentially she gets killed, but they blame it on Gustav, because they're like, oh, if it's faked, we can get the stuff that he was owed. So that was like the thing, that he uses that to go get him, right? And even try to get the painting back, but that doesn't work out.
But mainly the painting.
Yeah, so that doesn't really work out, because that's funny when I do love that when they come to arrest him and he's just like, "This is what we'll arrest you for," and he's like, "Okay," and he just like runs off. I'm like, oh my god, that's perfect.
Like, just let me have a look, and he just started running, and then all the policemen was like, oh, he's running away. But that scene in particular, when they took over the hotel, the military, they put out all the banners as well.
So that it's similar to the Nazi sign. They usually have like the two lightning bolts, but you see this in this film. He doesn't like a direct, because this is a fake place, so it's kind of like an analog. So they use a similar system or similar images that they would use to represent kind of like what they stand for or whatever. But I thought that's what I mean, because it isn't like they're Nazis, but they're not Nazis. Yeah. Because I don't know if you just didn't want to use the imagery or...
Probably not, but I think
just,
because the country is a fictional country, and apparently part of the inspiration of the movie is when he traveled through Eastern Europe and he visited all these communist countries, right? So
and that's a huge part like of their kind of... history. World War II is a huge part of like what happened there, really. Yeah. And it makes sense, because like a lot of political stuff was going on then. That was like the fight for what was going to stand and what was going to happen. So, and that's the thing, obviously, like, Mr. Gustav was on the side. Well, not that he feels political, but he disagreed with what they said, obviously, because we learned that through Zero and stuff. Helping him out and stuff like that. So
and I want to mention the image of them when they were in the prisons as well. Like all the striped clothes is an image that we see quite a lot during in the Holocaust movies. And this is like the representation of the Jewish people going through the oppression of the other party, even though it's not explicitly about that, but it's just
no, because that's not what it is. Yeah, because that's not why he's arrested. Yeah, that's the thing. It wasn't. That's not what they were going for with that. They were just like, he's just been plotted against, right, by Dimitri.
The segments where they are in the prison is one of my favorite segments
Pretty
as
hilarious. He just takes up his role again, but just
Yeah.
in the prison.
well. Yeah. And Harvey Keitel, he shaved his head for this role, and it's like,
No.
is that Harvey Keitel?
Yeah, I know. I was remember. I know that guy, don't I?
They got all the tattoos,
Yeah.
and it's like, this is great. And if we want to talk about the prison break, that is
pretty funny.
hilarious. And it got dark like pretty quick as well, but like in the Wes Anderson's fashion, he just like made light out of it. It's like,
Yeah, it's very light, very light. Because I do, if we're talking about the jail scene, I love the bit when he's like serving the food. He's like, who wants the daily gruel? Well, you sure? It's very nice. There'll be the salt and pepper. And it's funny. And then even like when they're getting all the tools and stuff, because Zero asks his wife, they're like, oh, can you bake some tools? And like,
Yeah.
she's like, and as they describe her, she's very brave and up for it. She doesn't really back down from it.
Yeah.
But I thought it was hilarious that the biscuits or whatever she makes literally look like the tools.
Yeah.
But when the prison inspector goes to look at it, as he's already stabbed everything else, he looks at them and is like, no, I can't do that.
Yeah, it's a Mendo's bakery, Mendo's
Yeah.
pastry, and this is one of the points I brought up before. I learned that the marketing strategy for this movie was heavily dependent on the Mendo bakery image. The way that they advertised this movie was advertising the pastry recipes online, and if you want to make this pastry like Mendo Bakery, this is a recipe that you follow, and then people shared it around. Turns out it's just part of the movie.
That's very Wes Anderson,
That's
kind of
so
like
good.
built in, kind of like a part of it.
Yes.
It's not like a movie; it's
Yeah.
like a world.
Yeah, and not just Mendo's, but even the character's name herself, Agatha. There is an Agatha bakery in South Melbourne Market.
Oh, Daddy.
I'm pretty
Did it
sure.
on that.
Yeah. Maybe no. I'm going with that direction. But the character Agatha, played by Saoirse Ronan, is only a minor role in this movie. But every time she appears on screen, she dominates it. So I
Yeah,
really
but
like
she's
this
very
character.
she's very important to it though, because it's a very poignant part in Zero's life. As he says a lot that is like, she's the most important part of my life, and I love it every time he talks like good stuff about it, and he's like, don't flirt with her.
I'm flirting with her.
And when he like introduces him to her, and he asks her, he's like, is he flirting with you? She's like, yeah. He's like,
And then did Gustav try to flirt with her a little bit as well, and then Zero was
like
like,
a
yeah,
little-
no, this is my girlfriend.
a little bit,
Yeah,
but not
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I just think it's kind of who he is.
Yeah.
You kind of a bit of a flirt. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just thought it was great.
They decided to let Saoirse Ronan act this character out in her Scottish accent or Irish accent, sorry, and she did try out like British accent and American accent, but Wes Anderson decided to, I think your original accent has a bit of charm to it, a bit of feistiness to it. So
Which suited the role.
yeah, I haven't heard Saoirse Ronan did another accent in other movies before. So
I'm trying to think. I don't know if I've seen a lot of movies with her in it. But
And we touch on the aspect of fascism, but there's also a very, very important part of this movie, which is color. The way that Wes Anderson used colors as a storytelling element. Did you notice any sort of color change or any highlights in the movie?
Well, my one's usually for like the periods of time. So usually when we're at the start, because we're introduced to the girl that's reading the book in like the cemetery, which is quite dark, and it's a cemetery. But then we go to like kind of where the book's written, where Jude Law is asked for the story, and that's like a bit dimmer, not like so dark, but it's a bit dimmer because the hotel's a bit run down. And then you get to where the story's at the start with the Grand Budapest, very bright, very vibrant. It's alive. This is the biggest point in the like film for it.
Yeah.
So that's like, it makes sense of like how it develops of like, oh, this is the pinnacle of where it was at, right?
Correct.
And then using the color in different ways to kind of show.
And like the aspect of color, it was really defined in this movie as well. Like Gustav was wearing really bright purple, so
I
did
love their
Zero.
suits. They're great.
And in case you guys didn't know, but in Australia there is entertainment place inspired by the Grand Budapest Hotel, which is called the High Chinks Hotel in one of the big shopping centers. Chaston.
Okay,
Chaston.
yeah.
So like if you go there, all the staff are wearing similar clothes, and they have like challenges in the hotel kind of settings as well.
Another Australian reference there.
Yeah,
You go.
there you go. Well, I mean, Hashing's Hotel, check it out.
Pretty much Eastern Europe.
Yeah, and you are right. Like when hotel is at the peak of their glory, like the colors are very vibrant. And when the Zabrowska military took over the hotel, you got a lot of red colors, bright red colors. But over time, when the hotel went through a lot of challenges, the color kind of fade as well. And I think this is why it won like the production set Oscar.
Oh, even without it, it's amazing because there's a lot of different places. And even he uses a bit of stop motion for like movement and stuff. I loved like some of the chases and stuff were like all stop motion, which was great. And just very like running through the museums and stuff.
Yeah.
Even when they're running through all the hotels, it's great. A lot of great shots. So it's like, it's hard to like pick out a favorite one.
Yeah.
But even I love one of my favorite scenes when
Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, is chasing
Jeff
Goldblum. And he like slams his fingers and his fingers just pop up and I'm like, oh shit.
yeah. That was
And
like unexpected.
And then I love that he goes and picks them all up. Well, that's good. He cleans up after himself.
Yeah, he's a
least, right?
professional.
Yeah, exactly. Very professional.
Yeah. What did you think about the character of Dimitri?
I thought he was interesting. Obviously, he's just kind of there to be like the villain.
But do you think that his greed and his motivation is justified?
For him, it is.
Like from your perspective as an audience, do you think?
Yeah. Like I believe him. Like he seems like a horrible son that just wanted his mum's money.
Yeah, but he kind of is entitled to it though because he's part of the family.
Well, it's not his money; it's his mother's money. Like as much as you'd love to have all your family's money if they're rich, but I mean it's still her money. It's not your money, so it is what it is. Like I can see it, and I think it's like understandable, and like I understand why he's upset and wants all this stuff. But I mean, like at the end, I know like the boy with the apples, like the piece de resistance. Essentially, this is what they want the most. But like even without that, they probably still would have, had some stuff. I know Gustav joked about like being like, oh, it's your house for the moment or whatever. But that's the thing that does him in the end, right? The greed. Chasing Gustav, blaming him for it all, pinning it all on him, and then it all backfires in like the penultimate scene when they're chasing through the hotel at the end. I love that.
Yeah.
Yet again, a Wes Anderson movie has one of my favorite shootouts when he's getting chased and then Dimitri does Dimitri fire first?
Yeah, he did.
And then everyone else was like, everyone else just starts shooting.
That's like, yeah.
And then they're like, what are we all shooting at? Stop it now. And then they start shooting all again. I'm like, oh my God. Is it as great as The Life Aquatic? It's almost.
Yeah.
And I feel like it is more pointless, but still funny.
Yes.
Just like a pointless shootout where it's like they're just chasing these guys. They don't need to shoot at all.
Another thing that I like about Dimitri is he's not one of those mindless villains. Like the things that he does is calculated, and he asks one of his assassins, played by Willem Dafoe,
Well, the assassin,
to help him out. Like he understands.
Well,
like,
it was his brother, wasn't it?
Brother.
Yeah, wasn't it his? I swear they were brothers. Maybe I misheard, but I swear they were brothers, weren't they?
The last names are different, so I'm not sure.
Okay,
so Joplin,
Joplin, yeah.
Joplin.
I thought they were brothers for some reason. Maybe because when Jeff Goldblum's character was introducing the will, I thought he referred to them as brothers. Maybe I miss it.
Yeah,
doesn't matter. But
yeah,
he was a great character. He was one of my favorite characters as well. Willem Dafoe's great.
Yeah,
he said a couple of lines, but he was just the menacing guy, like walking around and just being like, you're gonna. And it's just like, oh God,
the man of the few words, but all for actions.
All actions.
Yeah,
not good actions though. But I thought it was great.
Yeah, and again, I was saying that Dimitri is such a good villain in this movie. Like he hits the right level of like the balance of a villain. Like he has the good motivation. He's smart. He's calculated, but he's not always overpowerful. He has people to help him achieve his goal as well.
Well, he's very arrogant. That's like his downfall, right?
Yeah.
He's just,
Yeah.
But no, I would like agree, but because he isn't, he's like, it's so hard. It's not like an over menacing villain, right? It's just kind of like the road stop in the way for like Gustav, like sorting all this shit out, right? Because their journey after he gets out of jail is to find this other butler who knows he was the witness for the final will.
Yeah.
But they find out later there's like another will. Like, shit, Will 2.
Yeah.
Will 2's out.
And this is a good twist.
Yeah. It seems, I was like, oh my God, okay. Another will. Here we go. And obviously you see it at the start because you see him put the note in when he wraps up the painting. Yeah. So it's like, And I love the fact that they just go straight to hiding. I'm like, could have Just opened it. The movie would have been over in like 20 minutes. He opens up the painting and is like, oh, what the hell is this? If I'm killed, then, Gustav gets everything.
But I didn't know that there was an envelope in the back of the painting, right?
Yeah.
So someone put the painting in, wrapped it up.
The butler did. Because he wanted to talk to him when he went there.
Yeah.
Before they leave, Gustav is like, oh, you wanted to talk about something? He's like, oh, that can wait.
Yeah.
But he put the will in the back of that painting because he wrapped it up for him.
Yeah. But Gustav didn't know about that.
No. But that's what I mean. They just opened the painting before they like went to hide it into the vault. Well, hide it, but put it in the vault. Even the scene when they put it in the vault is great because when someone comes along, they're like, yep. Like they're not doing anything suspicious even though they both work there. And I'm like, why are they looking so suspicious for? It's not like...
Yeah.
Maybe they thought they caught on a bit quicker than they did, even though it took them a couple of weeks before they're like, oh shit, the painting's gone.
And of course, we have to talk about the character of Monsieur Gustav, played by Ralph Fiennes. This is like, I think this character is so colorful. It has a lot of different layers to him. Like he's a very good manager. He runs the hotel brilliantly. But he also has a lot of deep, dark secrets as well. Like dealing with the older ladies. It's just like one of many.
I don't think that's a secret though. I think they know.
Yeah. And, like of course he has like the objection on the regime's perspective. What do you think about this character?
I loved him. Like first 5 minutes into the film, I loved him. It was probably after the scene where Zero was like explaining the women he likes. And I'm like, oh, it's so great. Just like him like listing out all the things. I think I did. I know I said them before, but it was great. That scene, I'm like, oh, he's just such an interesting character to be like. He's so willing to do all this stuff. And then he's just like, he loves sleeping with older ladies and making sure they're happy and stuff. And it's like, because it's weird when it's like, oh, he goes above and beyond. But it's like, oh no, he actually loves these women. He's actually like, he isn't just doing it for like the money or whatever, like gold digging. He just loves older women. It just happens to be there.
Yeah.
He one of the things he does like them rich, but it's not like he's doing it for that reason alone.
Yeah.
But I thought it was funny.
I think probably because the reason why he likes them rich is because he has this sense of style himself as well. He has a really expensive taste. So just like his perfume, the panache.
Yes,
he likes the women similar to the perfume as well. It needs to have style. It needs to be expensive. And not just because they want the money from the women, just his taste.
Yeah. Because they got a rich, older, insecure blonde. And I was like,
there we go.
that suits it. But that was great. I loved his character. Like you said, just hardworking, very, very friendly. Because he threatens his workers a lot. Because even when he goes to prison, he's like, if you guys bloody stuff up, if Zero comes and says you've slacked in any way. So he runs a tight ship essentially. And he's very proud of it, right? And he doesn't want anyone to kind of stop his hard work. So it's very easy to like him, right?
Yeah.
And he never does anything like outright mean or anything like that. So very loving character. And even like you said, he stands up against the Nazis, even though pretty easy thing to do in hindsight, but at the time it would have been tough. But no, he's a great character. Did he get nominated? He didn't even get nominated for that, but that's what I thought. I was like, oh, I love that character so much.
Such a shame. And there are so many segments that highlight his rich personalities. But one of the scenes that I like is the lunch segment. Before all the staff could have lunch, they had to listen to this spiel of speech where he quoted like poems.
I think it might have been breakfast, but yeah.
Yeah, breakfast, sorry.
It's kind of essentially, he'd like, here's what we're doing for the day, and then he'd have his poem, and then like the second guy's like, time eat, he's going to take a while. Yeah, I thought that was great because they do that a couple of times as well. I think it was at the end as well. He does it again. Zero's like, yeah, you should eat because he's bloody. The poetry's coming.
Yeah, no, but I think during the first,
he does it at the same time. He does it as well. He's about to say some poetry, and they're like, eat now, and they all start eating.
That is such a cool scene. A lot of the chase scenes as well. But like throughout all of those challenges, like his personality doesn't really change. He always has this sense of pride, this sense of self. But there's one point in the movie where he had to ask for help from the Society of the Cross Keys. This is where we get opened up to a whole new world of managers.
Yeah, all the maitre d's of all
the concierge.
Concierge of all the other hotels.
This is where Bill Murray comes in.
Yeah, that's when Bill Murray pops up. But there he is.
Yeah, this is like the Power Rangers. Each of them has a different color.
And even when he comes to pick him up, that's great. And he like explains what they have to do. And then Gustav asks Zero, he's like, you got some change? And he's like, I've got about 10 like euros or whatever it is. Like, oh, can you give him like 4 or 5? And he's like, he gets it out to like tip him after, and he's like, no. I thought that was great. He's like, oh, even when they're like on the run, he's like, come on, you got to tip him. He's done a great job.
So, and I also collected an interview with Wes Anderson that I want to let you hear it, and then we can discuss it further.
When we had written the script, we had written the story where there's this hotel in the 30s, and it's at its peak, and it's at its most popular. And then in the 60s, let's say, the place has fallen out of favor. It's kind of falling apart, and it's in decline. But traveling around in Eastern Europe, going to places like the Hotel Gellert in Budapest, in particular, and traveling around in Czech Republic to Karlovy Vary and in Prague, we realized that we were missing something, which is a layer of history in the architecture. Communism is very present when you visit these places. You see the old place and the newer place inside it, and then the newer period inside of that. All these layers still exist. So we changed our story a bit without really rewriting it. It was in the design and the architecture of our movie. We sort of automatically started to build in something about the history through the architecture.
And that's it?
That's it. Yeah.
No, that makes sense, because obviously after World War II, after the Nazis were defeated, all of Eastern Europe was occupied by Russia. We were communists at the time. So, and pretty much installed, I assume they installed all their favourable governments to be communism as well. Because I'm sure like Poland and all that kind of stuff were all communists for a while. Even half of Germany was communist. So that makes complete sense. And obviously in his kind of parallel world, it mimics ours in that way, that it's just like it follows those lines of going through the same path as we did. So yeah, that makes sense. Like, and you do see it, like especially when they jump to the middle era, I guess. You know, not common time, but like you said in the 60s when, you know, Jude Law is talking about it, and you can see it's in that architecture at the time. So it's well done. Like that is a part of the storytelling as well, which I think is lost sometimes in film. If you're jumping around from times, it's really got to, you know, show it. And it's just things that might go miss, like you mightn't even notice, but the realism really comes across.
Yeah, and I really like this part of the interviews because it's very likely that everything that he tried to do with the architecture and the set designs might not come across to the audience, but he still did it anyway. And this reminds me of one of the interviews with Percy Jackson. No, I'm not sure. With not Percy Jackson, but with the Lord of the Rings.
Okay, yeah.
And all the orcs got the design of their armors and things like that. Those details are very, very easy to miss.
Yeah.
But they still did it anyway.
And it makes a big difference.
100%. And like, the more that you watch it, the more you learn about the movie, the more you like it, because like, oh, I can't believe that they put so much thought into this such a small
and
detail.
It makes it feel more real and lived in. Like this is an imaginary world essentially, right? It isn't ours one for one. It's like, you know, a little close as you can get. But that's what I mean. He didn't have to go to those lengths essentially, but he wanted that to feel like that, because that's how Wes Anderson usually does his films. He wants that feel. He wants you to feel there or feel this world exists. So he always does a great job. And yet again, like from that interview, it puts a great emphasis on the effort he's willing to go to make it feel like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, I think it is a crime that he didn't win Best Director, or this movie didn't win Best Picture.
Like we said, like it had that year.
Yeah.
It was a tough year, like, and especially for Wes Anderson, because this is his biggest film, and I don't know if he'll ever get like another chance like this again. But that's what's sad, because I do think he's an amazing director, but probably will never, because like we've said, this is his biggest film, and it's 170 million or whatever, which is nothing in the pool of like, you know, I don't know who won. Was it Birdman that won this year?
Birdman won,
and I'm sure that would have made double probably what that you know, the Grand Budapest did. So, which is funny, because I even remember at the time being, you know, and I'm like, I remember hearing like a bit about it, but I'm sad I didn't watch it in the theater either. I remember watching Birdman, like Imitation Game. I can't remember what the movies came out, but Interstellar. I think that was the same thing. But yeah, it is a bit sad. I won't deny that. Like it deserves some flowers, but then again, like what can you do?
Yeah, and I think this is a good point for us to step away from this great.
I was going to say like one more thing before we move on. He does like his his moment of having like either a line or like a statement.
Yep.
Because he has them in a lot of these movies. In this one,
like the quotes.
The quotes.
Yeah. Okay.
In this one was at the end. This is I think it's just as Gustav is like about to be killed, and Zero's like, there are still faint glimmers of civilization left in this barbaric slaughterhouse, and that can once show humanity. He was one of them. So I thought that was like a touching, final kind of pin of Gustav's character of, like we said, he's in this world that's like going to turmoil, but he's still trying to stand up for what he believes in.
Yeah.
Because he says it earlier in the train. I'm pretty sure he says a similar line to it, and he's like, ugh. He's like kind of ready to give up.
Yeah, and I think he also had like a second part to that statement as well. He's like, oh, maybe there's a glimpse of civilization, or everything just turned to shit.
Like something. That's like when he's given up.
Yeah.
But I do like that Zero when he says it again. He says it later at the end of Gustav's story, and then he's like, he was it. He was a glimmer of hope.
Fantastic.
Which I thought was like a lovely touch. Even though that wasn't the end of the film, I feel like, it was a great end for Gustav's story that was being told from Zero and then being written down in a book by Jude Law.
Well, you either die a hero or you live long enough to become a villain.
Well, he didn't become a villain.
Exactly. And I think that's where we should step away from this Grand Budapest Hotel and visit the next movie of Wes Anderson.
Time to go to Japan.
Yeah, but to be fair, Grand Budapest Hotel was such a good movie that it took Wes Anderson 4 years before he could release the next one. So I was like, okay, that's my story of it. But maybe he was making all the short films on Netflix.
Oh no, that was a long time after this.
Yeah,
because they came out I think it was this year. So that's like, that's a long time.
So it took him 4 years until 2018 to release The Isle of Dogs, or in my butchered Japanese, Inugashima. That's the Japanese name. The movie was made on a budget of $17.5 million, and the box office is $64 million.
That's about right.
Yeah, $32 million domestically. But it was nominated for the 91st Academy Awards for Best Animated Feature and Best Music Score.
Oh, it fits under animation.
Yeah.
With the kind of...
Like the stop motion animation.
But that's what I mean. I'm like, I guess it is animation, right?
Yeah. Before we talk about the first impression and opinion, I want to give the credits to the incredible team that made this movie. A team of 12 sculptors.
Only 12, damn.
And they worked 6 days a week to make this movie. So 20,000 faces, 1,105 animatable puppets, 2,000 background puppets, and the main character puppets took 3 months to create.
God damn.
And 200 handmade background settings.
Was it the same people that did The Fantastic Mr. Fox?
Yeah, most of them were working on it.
It felt still very familiar.
Yeah. What do you think about this artistic choice of making the claymation and stop motion?
I enjoy it. Like, it is like another way to tell a story, right? I think that's why he probably does it as well, even though it's not like there was a lot of films in between, like Mr. Fox. It was just Grand Budapest, and it's like into this. So he must have saw something in it. But that may be why it took so long to release as well. Maybe, like, we know how long, like 6, days a week, and it's still like, that's what I mean. Like, that's what he probably was. He's probably like, oh, this is taking a while. But I think it shows, like, every time they're on and they're like showing like the lead, like the fur like blowing a little bit. I'm like, God damn, they must have. Could imagine them like moving it a little bit through each scene. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah.
Painful. Yeah. So you have to give credit to the team. And I want to understand your take on this, because obviously this is not an efficient way to make the movie in a CGI world as well, where you can make all of this.
Definitely at this point.
Yeah. So why do you think he decided to do it?
It's very much Wes Anderson. He likes a style and he'll stick to it. I don't know if he ever has, because even if you think of Life Aquatic, even like he uses that. Is that the first time he kind of uses it? He might use it in, but yeah, that's what I mean. He uses it then, so it's like I think he likes the idea of it being a bit more real than using like CG, because even though this is kind of still animated, it's still a thing, right? It's still a thing he's made and put in the world, because he still uses it. I already said, like in the Grand Budapest, he uses it a bit for a lot of the movement scenes, right? Less than, getting like a helicopter watching like an actual thing do it. It's like, oh, let's animate it. So I do appreciate it, but yeah, like you said, like a long time and a lot of effort. I think it shows. I think it does come across in this movie very good, like does a great job.
Yeah, and I think the aspect of the stop motion animation is it makes you kind of relate, or not relate, but it feels real, something that you can touch. And that is something that CG would never be able to do. Like no matter how.
We'll see. But
we'll see.
It's hard. It's still very much like, okay, it's CG.
Yeah,
right?
but eventually, at some point, I think CG will get to that level where you don't know if this is real or not. But at the moment, the artistic choice to use stop motion animation makes it more grounded. And I think this is why Tim Burton likes to use the claymation as well. So. Do you want to give us a quick recap of the story?
Quick recap.
Yeah.
Yet again, it's kind of like, because he starts off with like a little story. It's literally like cats versus dogs. And it goes to kind of current time of where the cat fascists have taken over and they've essentially kicked out all of the dogs out of Japan, and they're on a little garbage island, trash island. And a little boy loses his dog and he's going to Trash Island to find it before the fascist leader kills them all because they don't like dogs.
Fair enough. And
Fair enough.
Yeah, and as a dog owner yourself, I want to know your take on this story. Like before coming into all the spectacles of the movie, what do you think about the decision to do it to the dogs? How did that make you feel?
Obviously a little upset, but I do like the idea because we talk about like good versus evil. This is like the other classic story about dogs versus cats, right? Two things that should never really get along, right? And that's like the friction in this film. And they're even like in the background a bit. I know we see it from the dog side essentially, but yeah, all the cats manipulate, or all the people that like the cats are manipulating, with propaganda and stuff to make sure that they're the top ones and kicking out all the dogs by making a fake disease, or not making a fake disease, but made a disease for the dogs to get them kicked out and then try to euthanize them all. So it is kind of crazy to be like, oh my God. But you tried to talk about fascism in the Grand Budapest, but this is real fascism.
Yeah.
They literally made a disease to try to get rid of them, isolate them on an island and be like, oh, let's just kill them all.
Euthanize them all.
Yeah, that sounds fascist to me.
And they tried to cover the truth as well. When the scientists came up with a cure,
he silenced it because that's not what he was after. He wasn't after looking for a cure. He wanted to get rid of the dogs.
He would serve a piece of sushi.
Yeah.
So of course
that scene was great. I love that food scene. I wrote it down. I'm like, that food scene when he's making all the sushi is amazing.
Yeah, and so we want to touch on the aspect of fascism. So I think this idea is very apparent in this movie, right? So the mayor of the town. So this is also a fictional town, Megasaki.
Megasaki, not Nagasaki.
No, Megasaki, and the mayor is Kobayashi.
Kobayashi. That's what I was trying to remember his name.
Kobayashi. So he.
The cat man.
And then because of his own motivation, he passed through this decree to banish all dogs
because of this disease.
Because of the disease, the influenza. So
the dog flu.
What do you think about Kobayashi?
I think he's kind of a great fascist leader. He's doing a great job. Because he even like brings up people like you said when he said they had the doctor trying to make the cure. He brings it up. He's like, oh look, we're looking for our options, right? When he's not. He doesn't care if the doctor finds a cure or not.
Yeah,
he just wants his regime to like get rid of the dogs.
Yeah, but there's one aspect that is a bit unclear in this movie, which is the motivation why he wanted to get rid of the dogs. But, well, obviously he's a cat person.
Yeah, it's just cats versus dogs. That's the motivation. It isn't like some grand ideal. It is just as simple as like cats versus dogs, right?
But I want to understand because if he so he created this kind of influenza and he used that to manipulate the public, because
of the dogs, they're sick and they're going to make us sick.
Yeah, but
I don't know how much research you've done into fascism, but fascism usually doesn't have a goal or a purpose or a religion. It's not like it's just kind of a thing.
Yeah, they appropriate the reasons, right? Yeah.
So it's never a thing. So the thing is they hate dogs. So that's the idea.
That's it. Yeah.
So if you look at most fascist regimes, it's just like,
we don't like this group.
Yeah, and that's like usually what they go off, right? So it's not I think that's the idea. It's just like they hate the dogs.
Yeah.
They're just trying to do anything they can to get rid of the dogs.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like the element of the human in this movie as well. So this is one of the
Atari,
or it's not just Atari, but like the bond between man and dog.
Yeah.
In this movie. So again, as a
I
dog
don't know
owner
why
yourself,
they chose Atari.
What do you mean?
The gaming system, Atari. Don't you remember the? That's why I'm like, you could have chose any other. Oh, if they chose Astro, I might have.
Yeah. So so what do you think about the relationship between? So what do you think about Atari's actions and motivations?
I think it's fair. As like a young boy, losing your dog would be very hard. Like I've had a few dogs in my lifetime, and as a young boy, if like my dog ran off or did something, I'd be pretty devastated. So it's just like understanding the lengths a little boy would go when he loses his best friend, especially when, you know, your foster father is a fascist cat owner. Yeah. So it's just like the idea of, you know, the lengths he would go to, like gets his plane, flies the plane over, trying to find him and stuff. So I thought, I loved it. I thought it was,
And we were to delve into like the motivations of Atari's action as well, because he was an orphan, right? So, and I'm sure that he didn't get along with his uncle. So this dog is basically like his family.
Because he wakes up after the crash.
Yes.
And he's meant to be the guard dog.
Yes.
But he's like the first one, right?
Yeah. He was the first one to be banished, which is weird to me.
Well, no, he explains it because he's just like, look, we're doing it. I'm the mayor and I'm willing to give up my dog, right? Little do you know, he's like actual motives, right? Because obviously they've got the secret council of cats where they all meet up with all the other people that love the cats, and it's like, oh, good job for helping us hunt down all the dogs and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just like, that's what I thought. It's just like, it made sense to me. I was just like, okay, bloody fascist.
And
Fash cats?
Fash cats, wow. Cassius. Yeah, so and the relationship between Atari and Spots is also a good demonstration of royalty and friendship and loyalty and friendship, because Spots was assigned this task to take care of Atari, and then during that segment he was like, yeah, you are my best friend, I'm going to protect you forever. And Atari responded to this loyalty by trying to rescue him from Trash Island.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think about this relationship? Like we don't really have a lot of scenes with both of them together.
No, but like I've already said, I don't think it needs to be played on as much. Like I do think in the scene in the hospital when he first meets him is like powerful enough. I felt personally, it's like, okay, I get it. And then obviously when he flies the plane there, it's like, oh, okay, this makes perfect sense. Like, you know, this little boy is willing to do whatever it takes to find his dog Spots. Yeah. I will say, I wish they called him Spot and not Spots.
Yeah.
I'm like, why is it Spots?
Spot, he has more than one.
I know, but
Spot is enough.
Yeah, like, anyway.
Yeah. Just a personal thing.
Yeah.
But besides the aspects of loyalty, this movie doesn't lack elements of betrayal as well. And one of the things I want to get your opinion on, all the dogs on Trash Island must have had some sort of owners in the past. So if they are on the island, does that mean that the owners betray these dogs?
Well, I don't know if they don't. I don't know how many of them would have given up willingly, but I don't know if they betrayed them. But depending how far you want to go into like government stuff, but like if your government says, "Oh shit, there's like a deadly illness, and we need to get rid of your dogs," it's like, okay, like I think it's a big step to be like we find with the little girl who's got the big board of like all the conspiracy theories, right? I think a normal person would be like, okay, like. I say about now, we've been through the pandemic and we're seeing how crazy people can get. But that's what I mean. I don't think it's such a betrayal, right? Like, how many of these citizens would have believed, like, oh, they're actually trying to murder all the dogs, right? I think that's a big step. But when I was thinking of betrayal, I was thinking more of like the foster father, the mayor, because he betrays Atari essentially. Like, he gives him this dog to say that like he'll take care of you and stuff, not expecting the boy to like fall in love with the dog and, care for it. And like we're jumping to the end of the film where he kind of like, he realizes like, oh shit, what have I done really? Like, what I've done isn't really for the greater good, is it? So I feel like that was more of a betrayal, because then he turns his back on the Cashists.
Yeah, the Cashists. Yeah.
So that's a betrayal I see. I don't see the owners betraying the dogs. Yeah. But that's what I mean. Like, I don't know how far we want to delve into the aspect of people's thoughts in, the dog flu.
Well, I mean, I do have a question for you. Like, would you abandon your dog? if you found out
Wow.
that the dog is
I know it'd be
affected.
tough.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what I mean. And it'd be like, a dog doesn't like going outside for walks. That'd be very hard to catch the dog flu off other ones. It would definitely be tough. It's just like, you know, I feel like it'd be the same for most pets. It's anyone that feels like a part of the family. Well, that's why I was going to say I always feel sad when I see people that have like abandoned their dogs or whatever, or people that like get gifts, dog gifts, and they're like, oh, they're cute when they're a puppy, and then they grow up and like, I don't want them anymore and abandon them. I don't get that, but that's what I mean. It would definitely be hard, or even like find a way not to do it. But,
Yeah.
you know,
And I think that's a good segue to the next theme that I want to discuss. I think that this movie also deals with power and responsibilities in a way. So, for example, Maya Kobayashi, he uses his power to exile all dogs, right? And he also used that to eliminate his opponent, the scientist, and cover the cure and manipulate the public. Like in the end, like we talked about it. Like he realized that his wrongdoings, and he decided to rectify it in a way. And it's quite similar to Spider-Man. Great power comes great responsibility. What do you think about the power and responsibility dynamic between Spots with S and Atari?
I think that's good because obviously when he finally finds Spots again, and Spots is kind of like, oh shit, like I can't help you now because I'm in charge. I'm helping out these other stray dogs that have been through a lot, and I've also got a dog pregnant.
Yeah.
So it's just like he accepts his responsibility, but also has to let go of his other one. He says, I can't be your guard dog anymore because I've got new responsibilities, and now that I have to take precedence over your, you know, which is also a hard thing to deal with, right? What do you prioritize, right? And it's just like he's made a new life. Whether he ever knew they'd ever meet again, right? So I think it is hard. Like that's what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
Whether it's the mayor trying to think like, oh shit, maybe I don't want to be on this side of things, or even the dog that's like, oh no, I've got a new life now. It's a bit hard to go back to my old stuff when a lot of people rely on me now.
Yeah.
So I do like that idea because even like the dogs, even Chief, he does it as well, where he's kind of like, I want to just be free. I don't want any kind of tie downs. I don't want to be a pet. But then he slowly turns into loving Atari and being like, okay, because I love all the times where he throws the stick the first time.
Yeah.
He's like, you want me to fetch? I'm not going to go fetch that. And he's like, fetch. He's like, I'm not getting it. And he's like, fetch. All right, I'm going to get it, but just because
I like it.
I want to do it, not because you want to do it, right?
Yeah. Like the bonding moments are great. And I like this idea of Atari has the power over Spot. I would say in a way, because obviously Spot has to listen to what Atari says over the intercom, but he also has the responsibility for Spot as well. That's why when Spot was abandoned to the island, he was like, okay, I have to go get him because I have this responsibility. And when Atari was in danger, Spot came back and rescued him as well. So I think it's a great relationship between the two of them. And I think, just like you said, Spot realized that he cannot take on this responsibility anymore because he has other responsibilities. That's why he passed this back to another dog.
To Chief,
who
who happens to be his brother.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so convenient. Like the plot hammer,
Well,
whatever.
A lot of dogs, right?
Yeah, and the voice actor who voiced Chief and Spot, so Bryan Cranston voiced Spots and Kiev voiced Chief. So Wolverine's older brother.
Yeah, Wolverine's older brother, and I need a cook.
Yeah,
Jesse, we need a cook.
But the elements of power and responsibilities are also layered with redemption, hope, and fear, especially by the final actions by the Mayor Kobayashi to overturn the decree. Do you think this is a good idea of Wes Anderson to give this character some sort of redeeming qualities?
Well, I think the idea of hopefully these people or people that act this kind of way can change, like if given a chance to realize their actions. Like I like that message because even if we think about times we live in now, a lot of people are very much on the point of if you're not on my side, you're the bad guy kind of thing. Where it'd be nice to have a little bit of dialogue before you quickly say someone's a Nazi or a bad person or an evil person, when he's clearly an evil person, right? He's done terrible things. But then even he sees his actions and be like, even, he's been a part of this group and he's just like, okay, this is not right. Like this, because if we go back to like the start of the movie where it tells us the little story about the boy that betrays everyone for his dog, And this comes back to him and he sees it all. He's like, oh no, the boy and the dog's going to come and cut my head off. And I'm at the end. Even though it's like a threat, he's like, it's a threat for my life. But he also sees it happening. He's like, oh no, it's going to be my head. So he's like, that changes it. Even though it's like, would have been a little bit nicer to realize it earlier, but that the idea of his death frightened him enough to be like, okay, I can change my ways. We're not going to do this. I don't want to press the button, press the big red button, get the red button out.
Yeah. Interesting.
I enjoy. I like the idea of giving people a chance.
Yeah, like obviously you wouldn't want to make the movie too depressing.
No.
Yeah.
But I was going to say it is quite depressing at times
already. I mean, yeah. And one of the final things I want to discuss is the criticism that the movie received. So it received mixed comments. People love the animation, the story, the characters, the music, but it got some backlashes on how Japanese people and culture are illustrated or portrayed in this movie. I'm sure you notice all the Japanese dialogues are not subtitled.
Yeah.
And people think that, oh, this is like example of racial stereotyping. Like all the Japanese people in the movie, in the animation, it's a bit extreme. It's a bit
well, it's still like
eccentric.
It's still like an animation, right?
Yeah.
It's not like a direct, one for one. Like I could see, but like I guess you could. Like it's not the most egregious thing I've seen, but I think it's a part of it. Like it's kind of just like, it's kind of their culture, and it just show it off. Like whether it's eccentric or not. Like I can't really speak. I don't know like Japanese will come from there, but like I've watched a lot of media and like Japanese culture and stuff, but. So it is hard to be like, I could imagine people watching this, but I'm sure it doesn't seem like, I don't know, it doesn't seem as rough because it's animated as well where it's like, usually they play up on those things. On either side, usually they'll play it up a bit, but nothing comes across like, too rough. For me, when I was watching it, I wasn't thinking like, maybe if I watched it again, like actually watch it a bit, but like I do like it as well because usually, well, when I think about it, I think it for the mayor. He's like one of the most animated ones, or even he's like,
like the butler,
right? The henchman,
the henchman, the vice, the vice mayor,
was the one, but I can see it, but it didn't. When I was watching the film, it didn't take away from me in the moment.
Yeah, so that was a criticism, right? So, and what do you think about the artistic choice of not subtitling all the Japanese?
I really liked it.
Yeah,
because then you're there with them.
Yeah,
with the dogs and stuff that you can't understand them, and I think that's good. I like that, especially because it's meant to be situation in Japan, right? And I don't think you need I don't think you miss any of the story. Like I think you still understand what's happening and what's going on. Yeah, you're not it's not like I don't have any clue what's going on. Yeah, but yeah, I liked it. I like that. I always like that. I'm like, because it makes sense for the story. Like if the whole story was Japanese and had no subtitles, I probably wouldn't watch it because I wouldn't understand it. Yeah, or maybe get some stuff, but
yeah. And it's not like completely in Japanese, as there are some parts that was interpreted by one of the interpreters.
Yeah, I like that. I really like that because that's what I mean.
You said,
because it's very much in line with what would have to be doing in the real world. Yeah, and that's what I liked. I liked it.
And the fact that you mentioned that a lot of the dialogues in Japanese didn't really take away from the story is also part of the criticism that people are saying. They say that much of the Japanese dialogues has been simplified, so that people could make out the story from the statements, and because of that, they feel that the Japanese culture and people are a bit marginalized in a way.
I could see that, but that's like because it is kind of nearly the point from the dogs, right? And so like if you had it all Japanese, I'm sure they would have subtitled it, and then the dialogue would probably be a bit more complicated, right? But that's what I mean. So that's the worry, right? Like if you make the dialogue complicated for the Japanese side of it, and then you still stick with, which I think you could have still done, but like it's here or there. Like I could get that complaint, but whether or not it would have affected the movie for us, probably not. No, just because we probably would have still been either through the dialect or through the
actions.
The actions. That's what I mean. You can see it through a lot with their actions, rather than like the dialogue. So it is what it is. Like I can see it. I would agree to some extent, but not like it. Like I said, it's hard for us. It's not like we're Japanese or have any kind of cultural background in that that's fair. Nationality. So it's going to be hard for us to be like, yes, we found it very offensive. I can speak fluent Japanese. Baka. So,
and And you know that this reminds me of one of the interviews with Quentin Tarantino when he did the movie Inglourious Basterds, and they were questioning him about, but this is not historically accurate. Like Hitler didn't get killed by this socialist, and he was like, "This is my movie."
Yeah.
Like I came up with the idea. Like I wanted my characters to win. I wanted my characters to do this. So if you want to change it, you go and make your own movie.
Well, that's what I mean. Or even there's documentaries and stuff about it. Yeah, so it's tough. Like that's what I mean. Like I think when you start making a film to appease people in that sense, it's going to be tough either way, whether being overly sensitive or not sensitive at all. I think it affects it both ways. I think you should just try to go and make the film you want.
Yeah.
And then, because I think that will always, like we've seen from Wes Anderson, he never really backs out or from an idea. He'll usually stick to what he wants to do, which I appreciate in directors usually when they stick to a vision. Because that's what we've talked about, like all the big cookie cutter films. It's there to make money, and it doesn't have a vision or an idea. Even though like you said, this film didn't make much money, at all, but I'm sure I've enjoyed this more than a lot of other films. But
and the biggest criticism that I want to bring up is the character of Tracy.
The
international student.
Greta Van Berg, her character.
Greta Gerwig.
Gerwig.
So, and I quote this. I think this is really interesting. A critic says, Tracy is a classic example of the white savior archetype. The well-meaning white hero who arrives in a foreign land and saves his people from themselves.
Yeah, it is a bit. I won't disagree with that. It's pretty much on the nose. Like, I wonder why he chose that character. If it's more from the language standpoint, so we would understand it. But it very much comes across of her saving it, even though she's the one coming up with the conspiracies, and she's in a group with Mochi. All of her the dog, the anti. No, Pro Dog. The Pro Dog group, like they're all Japanese and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe it was like the film choice that it was like, maybe she should be English, so like mainly like the ideas can get across easier, or maybe he didn't think about it that much. But yeah, I do see that. Like, if anything, even though Atari is the one that saves the day, but I could see that. Like, I think that's a fair criticism.
Yeah, I think so as well. Like, when I saw that, I was like, oh no, like they tried to make this girl the hero again.
Yeah,
and she was the one who found out about the conspiracy. She went to the assistant of the scientist to get the cure, and then she helped Atari to cure his dog. So I mean, obviously, like, this movie is a good movie, but it's also quite controversial in that sense. But I think overall, I like the movie. I mean, it gives you something to think about. I'm sure there are heaps of movies that kind of criticize the societies that we are living in. And of course, those movies are not comfortable, but it makes us think about...
definitely don't let cat people rule.
Anything you want to add about this movie?
So like I said with Grand Budapest, parts again. So it has the parts apart. You've got to have all the different parts.
Yes.
Even the messaging, like we say quote, but it was this story, right? And I think you said the haiku as well. I can't remember if I wrote it down, if I can remember, but I remember it being silly. Where is it? Whatever happened to man's best friend, falling spring blossoms. And this is like the haiku. I'm like, oh my God. Because there was the haiku at the start, right, when they're talking about the boy. And I'll also say the reoccurring people again.
Yeah.
So like Edward Norton's back.
Yep.
Jeff Goldblum's back.
Yep.
Bill Murray's back.
Yep.
Harvey Keitel.
Yeah.
Is that right? He's back.
Yep.
Abrams came back from the Grand Budapest, who plays Zero older. He's back.
Yep.
Tilda Swinton was back.
Yep.
Even Angelica Houston was back. So a lot of recurring faces and some new ones that reoccur back again.
Yeah.
Like we have
Bryan Cranston.
I don't know if he comes back in these other films.
No, I haven't seen him.
But there's Scarlett Johansson's in it again.
Yep. And Murray Abraham came back.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
So he still sticks to it. Like, you get one movie, you're probably going to get another one.
Yeah, that's it. So you'd have to get into his good books, but it depends on like how many characters can he write for you, right? Anything else you want to wrap up?
Is there anything else I want to say about The Isle of Dogs? I do think it is an interesting film because it's, like you said, it's so hard. I think it's hard to bring people in with like an animated stop motion film like this into like a big audience. I can see why I probably didn't do as well, right? And it still it feels like a kids movie, right? It's not. I wouldn't say it's like most of his other films. Like you could say Mr. Fox probably is maybe his other film that you would say would be more friendly to children compared to the other ones where they're all right, but nothing I'd probably want to show like a young child. But this, because it's just like the idea of like a man's best friend, a child, and trying to save the day, you know. I think that's fair. So I do think it was enjoyable. Like,
I think so as well.
I don't know if there's much else to add, but I think you did a good job covering it. And as long as we, you know, get to keep continuing on, I think we're all right.
Yeah. And thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Director's Series. And if you're a fan of any of these movies, leave us a comment and let us know what you like or dislike about any of these movies. Don't forget to click the subscribe button, turn on the bell to get the notification for the latest episode. And make sure to tune into the next episode. My name is Darren.
And I'm Tim.
And this has been Movie Beings Podcast.
Beings.